Marx Trains Tips for Beginners on this episode of Toy Train Tips and Tricks. Hello again, this is Mike with another episode of Toy Train Tips and Tricks. There's no denying that today's dollars don't go as far as they once did. So how does someone on a budget get involved with classic 3-rail low-gauge trains? Or what if you have kids or grandkids that you would like to introduce to the hobby without having to worry about them destroying something rare and expensive? Marx Trains may be your answer. Marx made O-gauge toy trains from the 1930s to the 1970s. While most Marx designs were rather basic, their trains and accessories were priced well below those of Lionel and other competitors, while at the same time being known for durability and simple operation. On the other hand, one drawback of Marx products is that they are not always fully compatible with Lionel products, or even other Marx products. So, if you're not familiar with the ins and outs of Marx products, there are a few things you should know about them before diving in. Oh, and for our purposes, we are only looking at Marx electric trains, not their line of mechanical or battery-powered trains. So, here we go. While Lionel trains were sold through a network of dealers and hobby stores as well as mass merchants, Marx trains were aimed squarely at the mass retail market, with bargain sets made for neighborhood 5 and dime stores, as well as for mass merchandisers like Sears and Montgomery Ward. Marx even made special trains and accessories decorated for Allstate, which was Sears' in-house product brand before later spinning off into the independent insurance provider. And while some deluxe Marx offerings were scale models, although usually 3/16" scale instead of 1/4" scale to save space, most Marx products were toys through and through, with bright colors and inexpensive decoration taking priority over prototype accuracy. To reduce production costs, the same Marx tooling and decoration was used over and over year after year, so today there are very few Marx models that can be considered rare. Therefore, most Marx models are exceptionally affordable, especially when compared to their Lionel counterparts. What kinds of track do Marx trains run on? As far as regular straight and curved sections are concerned, all Marx products will operate on traditional or modern O and O27 gauge track with curves of O27 and larger, whether tubular or fast track or any other design. Marx track sections are the same height as Lionel's O27 track, and so they are fully interchangeable, although some Marx straight sections are longer than Lionel's, and Marx also offered wider radius O34 curves with some of their premium sets. The spacing of the ties is also slightly different from Lionel's, so some Lionel accessories that require attachment to the track will not work with Marx track. More importantly, you must be aware of turnouts and crossovers. Some Marx locomotives are geared in such a way that they have so-called fat wheels on one side. These wheels are not compatible with track sections that have guardrails, such as Lionel 90 and 45-degree crossings and Lionel turnouts made after 1952. Lionel's earlier number 1121 O27 turnouts work fine with Marx locomotives. The other option is to use Marx's common metal construction O27 turnouts. These are very common and inexpensive, and most of Lionel's Scout and Starter Set locomotives will operate on them with only a simple modification to the turnout. Marx also made plastic O27 and O34 turnouts. My experience with these has been that Marx items will run well on them, but Lionel and other locomotives have difficulty navigating the curved portion without derailing. So be careful about your turnout selections and your choice of other trains to use with your Marx locomotives. On my layout, I will have one line that uses only Marx metal turnouts and a few Lionel 1121s, and my fat wheel Marx locomotives will be restricted to this line, while smaller Lionel locomotives are also welcome. That brings us to Marx motors. Most Marx motors use a simple 4-wheel drive that is simple but durable and easy to repair and maintain. Marx made their motors simple enough that anyone with a basic mechanical knowledge could lubricate them and change the motor brushes when necessary, for a lifetime of enjoyment. These motors have two different types of gearing: a single reduction gear setup, those are the ones that have the fat wheels, and a double reduction gearing. Besides the lack of a fat wheel, the other advantages of the double reduction motor are slower starting speeds and greater pulling power. However, these motors were a bit more expensive to produce, and so are generally limited to Marx's mid and upper grade locomotives. Be careful though, Marx designs were modular and motors can easily be swapped among different models, so you will sometimes find a single reduction motor on a model that was not factory installed that way. Some models use a combination of the 4 powered wheels in conjunction with unpowered axles or even fake wheels to make the models appear to be larger steam and diesel locomotives. The center power pickup on these models is a long copper strip rather than rollers. This provides excellent center rail power pickup, but over time these can become seriously worn. Extreme grooves may be repaired with some careful soldering work, or the strips can be replaced altogether with cut and shaped sheet brass. Many mid and upper grade locomotives have 2-position reverse units with no neutral position, and they lack lockout levers. Bottom end models are usually one-directional. What about power? Can you use a Lionel transformer with Marx Trains? Yes, with the exception of a very few sets made in 1974 and 1975, all Marx locomotives will run on AC power. However, Marx motors run best on lower voltages than Lionel's motors, generally around 12 to 14 volts maximum. So you may want to use a transformer with a lower starting voltage, such as a Marx transformer, or even American Flyer's AC transformers work well. If you have a Lionel multi-volt type transformer, use the connections for the lower variable voltage, usually posts A and B instead of U and A for best results. Or you can use a Lionel transformer as is and just avoid turning the power all the way up. There is a slight chance that long periods on 16 to 18 volts could burn out an old Marx motor, but more than likely the locomotive will take off like a rocket and go airborne on the first curve it encounters. The handful of Marx locomotives with CAN motors, like the Meteor set of 1974 and 1975, were actually designed to run with lantern batteries, so a traditional HO-type DC power pack will work, just keep the maximum voltage to around 6 or 7 volts. I'd like to pause for a moment and ask that if you're enjoying the video so far, please like the video, subscribe, and leave a comment about your experience with Marx Trains. I'd also like to thank our channel members for their support. Members can receive special perks including exclusive members-only video content, special member messages on the community page, and more. Thanks again for helping me help you keep the trains running. Marx Trains are usually constructed of lithographed tin, die-cast metal, or plastic. Many collectors are attracted to Marx's tin trains just for their colorful lithography. While most train manufacturers abandoned tin and sheet metal construction after World War II, Marx was still making some tin models through the 1960s alongside their plastic counterparts. These colorful models are susceptible to scratching and rust, so pristine examples are generally priced higher than most Marx models. Badly rusted examples are excellent candidates for repainting. Let your imagination run wild with these. Marx diesels were made of tin or plastic and ranged in size from the very small tin Fairbanks Morse type diesels to the 3/16" scale plastic E7 diesels to the O scale tin No. 21 Santa Fe FTs. Marx steamers could be made of tin, plastic, or die-cast metal and ranged in size from the small Canadian Pacific Type 242s to the 3/16" scale No. 333 die-cast Pacific and No. 1829 plastic Hudson steamers. The die-cast No. 999 and No. 666 242s, as well as the plastic No. 1666 242s, not to be confused with the Lionel steamer of the same number, are also prized by operators and collectors. Likewise, Marx rolling stock was made of metal or plastic and could have 4 fixed wheels or a pair of 4-wheel trucks of various designs. The most desirable models are the 3/16" scale tin lithographed cars, which are valued both for their size and for their artwork, and also the deluxe line of plastic cars, which are usually 3/16" scale and include extra features such as opening boxcar doors. 4-wheel cars are by far the most common and are good for young operators as they're easier to put on the track than 8-wheel cars. In general, Marx cars were decorated in bright colors for aesthetic appeal rather than for prototype accuracy. with the biggest exception being that 3/16" scale tin car line, which often reflected real color schemes. Marx 8-wheel plastic cars are comparable in size to Lionel's Scout Type and entry-level O27 cars. Many freight car designs were produced in both 4- and 8-wheel versions, depending on the desired price point of a particular set. One frustration of Marx Train products is the incompatibility of their couplers. Marx couplers come in 3 main variations: metal tab and slot, plastic fixed knuckle, and the so-called automatic or fork-type couplers made of plastic or metal. There was also a short-lived pre-war latch coupler, but these are seldom seen today. None of these types will couple directly with Lionel's knuckle couplers. Marx couplers are much lower than Lionel's, and also they're the wrong shape and size. The Marx plastic knuckle coupler will sort of couple with Lionel's Scout-type couplers, using the vertical shaft of the Scout coupler through the Marx knuckle. Marx couplers are also largely incompatible with one another. Tab and slot couplers will mate with plastic couplers of both the knuckle and the fork type, thanks to a slot in the plastic fork coupler shaft, but they will not mate with metal fork couplers, which lack this slot. Metal fork couplers will only mate with other metal fork couplers. Plastic fork couplers will mate with metal fork couplers or tab and slot couplers, but not knuckle couplers. Knuckle couplers will only mate with each other or with tab and slot couplers. 4-wheel cars generally came with either tab and slot or plastic knuckle couplers. 8-wheel cars usually came with automatic fork couplers, but not always, as seen in these examples. And speaking of automatic fork couplers, while they do not look prototypical, these couplers will couple automatically and can uncouple remotely using a fixed one-way uncoupler plate, which works well on sidings, or with a magnetically activated uncoupling device. There are homemade workarounds to the coupler incompatibility issue, from the use of idler cars modified with different types of couplers at each end, to plastic zip ties, to homemade metal clips, to my own 3D printed adapters. Search YouTube for different Marx coupler solutions to find the one that works best for you. Do Marx steamers smoke? Yes, some do. Particularly the number 666, 1666, 1829, and some 333s. Marx steamers are known for their prolific smoke output, although they need to be refilled with smoke fluid frequently. Some 1666 steamers even have steam cylinder smoke. What about horns and whistles? Well, no. As delivered, neither Marx steam or diesel locomotives came with onboard horn, whistle, or bell sounds. Some Marx diesels included a growling diesel roar mechanism, and some 1666 steamers had special tenders with sound of power. These tenders have a metal pickup wheel under the tender that alternately connects and disconnects with a white noise generator circuit in the tender. This feature preceded Lionel's electronic sound of steam feature, and most who have heard both systems prefer the sound of the Marx to the Lionel. Did Marx make accessories? Of course! Marx produced a wide variety of signals, crossing gates, flashers, bells, and even talking stations over the years. Among the more creative items were the electronuclear voice control and the voice-activated control tower. Many of the best Marx accessories, like the operating barrel loader and the operating interlocking tower, were reproduced in the 1980s and 1990s by K-Line. K-Line? Yes! K-Line trains acquired the tooling for many Marx items and added them to their budget train line. An updated version of the Marx Alco S2 became a staple in K-Line starter sets, along with updated versions of Marx 8-wheel plastic rolling stock. Marxville structure kits and even the number 333 and 1829 steamers found new life under the K-Line banner. Marx trains haven't been made for half a century, so are replacement parts available? Yes! Many common Marx parts, both original and reproductions, can be found at trainpartsformarx.com, the webpage of the Robert Grossman Company. In fact, it's usually easier to find original Marx parts than those for the K-Line reissues. Other part sources include eBay searches, or, since most Marx pieces are rather inexpensive, purchasing damaged items as parts donors is always an option. So how affordable are Marx Trains? A basic Marx set with four-wheel cars and a basic 040 steamer or 70-ton diesel can often be found for $50 or less, even with the original box. 8-wheel plastic cars can usually be acquired for $10 or less. Solid running and smoking 1666 and 666 242s can be found in good condition for less than $50. And common Santa Fe E7s can be had in AA or AB configurations for around $75. So if you don't care about top-of-the-line features and just want to run trains, consider picking up a classic Marx set. They're also great candidates for redecoration and customization, so they're an excellent way to get crafty, non-train family members involved in the action. Whatever you choose, keep the trains running, and we'll catch you next time with more toy train tips and tricks.